Hi again. Well, we survived Storm Oscar. Goodness me, what a few days it's been here. The last week has been absolutely crazy. In fact, what's going on with the weather? The whole month of May, it's been crazy. Month of February has been crazy. Goodness me, Madeira is supposed to have an amazing weather here. You know, we got just the right amount of sunshine. We have just the right amount of rain. The temperature doesn't vary much between 16 degrees centigrade and 26 degrees centigrade. But goodness, let me show you what's been going on with the weather here. I keep a calendar of the month and I record a whole bunch of things here that are useful for me. Like when I water the beds, when I fertilize the trees and so on. But look, end of May, rain from the 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st, rain. I couldn't do anything in the garden at all. Move into June, same story, rain, and then we get hit by Oscar in the middle of the week, last week, and it's just been absolutely crazy. This weekend, yesterday was a Sunday, and it wasn't too bad, but we still had rain, and we're back to this weekend. It's starting to look nice. It's the 12th of June today. And but it's been absolutely crazy, and we've had some impact in terms of our lives here, and also in terms, of course, of the vegetable garden. Okay, we're back outside. So you've seen what it's like here. It's been 2 weeks and a half of rain, and I haven't really been able to do much in the garden. But coming back to Storm Oscar, you know, in 2010 February we had a terrible storm here in Madeira. The island's very mountainous, and when it rains in the highlands, all the water comes tumbling down into the coastal areas where most of the towns and cities are. So 2010 was a terrible year. That February we had about over 40 deaths. Roads collapsed. We had mudslides and landslides, and places were flooded everywhere. So over the last 10 years the local government here has taken measures, working with the councils, to try and reduce the impact of such a thing. So this week past we had Oscar hit, and Oscar brought a lot more water than we had in February 2010. So everybody expected the worst, but guess what? It went over with almost without a hitch. We had some flooding a little bit here, but not too much, and we had a few landslides, but not too much, and generally the infrastructure held up well. So we're all pretty much happy here on the island. I had a little bit of flooding in the house, but nothing that we couldn't take care of. But now let's look at the garden. So I want to take you through the vegetable garden and show you what has happened. I've only done a little bit of tidying up here and there, but there's still a lot of damage in terms of the fruit and the vegetables. It is what it is, but I'll show you what it's like, and then in a second video I'll take you through the orchard. All right, let's go and have a look. So the vegetable garden is sitting here in the middle of the lawn. My father-in-law and my mother-in-law organized this garden in terms of the layout. We've just been using it and added the vegetables to it. So essentially I've got 3 vegetable beds here, and then there is a garden, a cactus garden, surrounded by sea. And mountain. The weather's still a bit iffy, as you can see, but this is the view from up here, which is fabulous. And I want to show you what it looked like during the weekend. Have a look at this. This is day 2 of Storm Oscar. And we've been battered and rained upon, and this is a slight break in the weather. So I've come out here to film it so I can put it in the video. It's still blowing here, but look, can't see a thing. The whole world's blocked out by clouds. We've been in cloud for 2 days now. Actually, the sea's down there, but there's nothing. So I'm going to go back inside, and when this thing stops, I'll come out to assess the damage. Oh, the fencing is not doing very well. It's supposed to be a wind shelter. Goodbye, I'm going back inside. Okay, now that you've seen what it's been like here, let's go back to the garden. Okay, so my first vegetable bed here, vegetable bed 1, contains tomatoes, peppers, and aubergines, or what we call eggplant in some places, and even brinjals, depending where you come from. So let me show you first thing what happened to the tomatoes. These are cherry tomatoes, and we've had so much water that they've all burst. At least the ones that were ripening up. It's so heartbreaking because they were just about ready to be harvested, and there was so much water in the soil. This has been rubbed and battered, and these have also been burst, which is a problem. So just a couple of words on these tomatoes. These are these tomato plants. These are cherry tomatoes, and it's 3rd generation. So at the end of every season, I cut off the top of the plant, I stick it in water until it grows roots, and then I replant it. And that's what I've been doing with these tomato plants year after year. So I bought a cherry tomato once and then never bought them again. They just propagate. I want to also show you what I do. I take off the leaves below the fruit so that the growth, the energy goes into the fruit, and then as the plant grows, I remove the low-lying leaves. So whenever I find some fruiting like this, I take the leaves off beneath it and just leave the leaves on top. Same here. So all these leaves up to here I'm going to take out and leave it there. Incidentally, this is a cherry tomato, so I tend to try and grow it into a Y, into a V, I should say, and then I let it have as many branches as it likes. That's why I have this crisscross of wires here. I hang them up over here, and then when the tomato plant gets up there, I just move it along to the next hook, and it lays the plant down at the bottom, which enables the cherry tomato to keep growing, because this plant is an indeterminate tomato, which means it will grow and grow until the cold kills it. So that's why I have it hooked up, and why I will move the hooks across so that I can have tomatoes right up until November, might even in December. It happened one year. So I grow these tomato plants into 2 main stems, sometimes 3, but usually 2, and they are very productive. I noticed something after the rain. I've got thrips, which is a real pest and really hard to get rid of, but because of the weather I haven't been able to come out here and care about the plants. So they snuck in and they're beginning to spread, so I'm going to have to take care of them now that the weather's improved. So that's the cherry tomatoes. I've got some tomatoes growing down here. These are determinate tomatoes, and they have a single they grow up to a specific size, and then they give the fruit and then they die. These are Roma tomatoes. I've got 1, 2, 3, yeah, I've got 3 Roma tomatoes, 4 Roma tomatoes growing here. And again, they're starting to fruit, which is great, but I've noticed there are some thrips as well, so I'm going to have to treat all these. Then behind here I've got what they call a bullheart tomato because of the shape of the tomato. It's also this is an indeterminate tomato plant, and it gives huge tomatoes, and it's just starting to flower now. it's looking forward to that. And then over here I've got what they call the king tomato, and these ones have been fruiting for some time. These are also indeterminates, and they'll grow and grow and grow until the cold comes. Hopefully, happily I should say, these haven't been too affected by the weather. So I just keep stringing them as they go up, as they grow. Behind that I have a bunch of aubergines, eggplants in other words, and these plants have had an amazing May. I'll put a picture in here so you can see how productive they were. They're just taking a break from the work that they've done, and we had a lot of fruit here. We're still eating some of it. Some of these are still growing nicely, but the plants have been treated in terms of getting more nutrients, and I'm kind of expecting a lot more aubergines to come out now, or eggplants. Alrighty, and then on this side here I have the peppers, and the pepper plants have also got thrips and maybe something else on them. Yeah, have to be treated, but they're flowering very nicely, and the peppers are growing. Here's another one. This one's got 2 or more. Some decent sized peppers starting to show and to form here, and so I just got to get rid of the thrips because they've been infected. And then over here I've got cayenne peppers, and again prolific plants. The cayenne peppers grow green, they become black, and then once they start to ripen they become red. This is a really small one, but you can see that these plants are very prolific. So that's the vegetable bed 1. I'm doing another experiment because I put compost in the bed at the beginning of spring. I noticed that we are getting pumpkin plants growing out of it, so I've let them grow, and I've let them grow out of the bed instead of in the bed. I've done this with all the beds, so they're starting to flower. The pumpkin is interesting because they provide a lot of male flowers, like this one. This is a male flower. You can tell because it's a thin stem. I don't know if I have any female flowers, but this plant needs to fertilize or pollinate, I should say, the female flowers, which I have none. If I find one, I'll point it out. These pumpkin plants tend to have a hell of a lot of male flowers, and then the odd female flower, and those are the ones that turn into pumpkins. So look at this. All these are male flowers growing here, so those will not become pumpkins. If I find a female flower, here's one. See this one? This is the beginning of a female flower. It's got a little bump before the flower. When this thing flowers, it has to be pollinated by the male flowers, and then this thing will become a fruit. Any more? That's a male. That's a male flower. Yeah, pumpkin plants can be frustrating like that. Anyway, so I've let all the pumpkins come out of all the beds, and they are growing very nicely. I don't want them to clutter the vegetables in the beds. Same principle to all of these. I'll come back to these other beds here. Vegetable bed number 2, I had a very nice onion harvest here, and I've got the onions drying now. I'm using the park bench, the garden bench, to dry them, but I've now replaced the onions with leeks, what they call French garlic, on the island of Madeira. I've got some cabbages growing over here and some beetroots. These chard plants were here with the onions, and they're doing very nicely. There's a little bit of fungus on there which I have to get rid of. And then I have 2 peppers also growing on here, just for fun. So this bed is doing okay. It's now starting to replace the growth here. It's going to grow now and become quite eventually covered. And that's why I've moved the pumpkin plants out of here. Okay, let's go to vegetable bed number 3. This vegetable bed is amazing because it's so prolific. We do a lot of intercropping in here, or interplanting. Let's start with the chard. This is an amazing plant. It's a green. We use it for smoothies. We put it in salads, and it can even be cooked or steamed and put, and served with food or on its own. The chard comes in various colors. That's a yellow stem chard over there. That's a red stem chard over there. That's a white or green stem chard. So it makes for nice colors on your plate, which is nice to see. I have some lettuce growing here. This one's actually ready to be picked. In the corner I've stuck a beetroot, and you'll see I have a pumpkin growing out. So it's not crowding the bed, but it is feeding off the bed. We have a cucumber plant growing here. It's been planted recently, but it's already flowering. The cucumbers are coming through. There's another pumpkin which will grow out of the bed, and then another cucumber which will grow up here, and still another pumpkin in the corner growing out that way. I like to do that. There's a carrot in here. It's the last one that's left, this one here. And over here we have a courgette. The courgettes we are staggering. There's a courgette plant coming in the middle here because they're quite prolific, and we don't need to have 2 at the same time. So there's a new one about to go in here, and this courgette plant is already flowering. It works pretty much the same as the other cucurbits. It's got male flowers which have a long stem like that, and then the female flowers have got a body, and these are the ones that give the courgettes. So when it opens, when it flowers, it has to be pollinated from a male flower from this plant or from another plant. And I think you can cross-pollinate them with the pumpkins. So a lovely lettuce over there, some more lettuce here, and beetroots. The beans, got beans growing in here as well. They took a battering during the storm, and I had to actually help them. So I've put some little ties to support the beans because they were coming unstuck. So beans on this side, chard over there, and a bunch of stuff in between. You can also plant lettuce in between the beans. They like that. It provides them shade, and they don't interfere with the beans at all. Over here I have some more pepinos, as you say in Portuguese. These are cucumbers. And they are flowering. They do the same thing as the other ones. So we have male flowers and female flowers. That's a, whoops, sorry about that, with a video. That's a baby cucumber growing there. Everywhere you see a yellow flower, we're going to get a cucumber. So that's it in a nutshell. Most of the damage has been caused by the thrips and the rain that has swelled the tomatoes and damaged that harvest. I'm hoping to continue to get some more. It's looking quite impressive, the tomatoes from here. I love to see that, especially when the bed's full. It looks great. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the tour. So that's the tour of the veggie garden, the quick update. I've got a lot of work ahead just to get it all ready, treat those tomatoes, get rid of the thrips, and we'll do it again in a month's time or so. If you learned something, click the like, hit the subscribe, and press the bell button so that you'll be reminded every time a new video comes out. Have a great week.